Welcome to our bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. I have been receiving requests. Kenyans are asking, why is Deputy President on a warpath with President Uhuru Kenyatta? This is a question that has emerged because the last 2 days, the very day Standard newspaper, or rather this was Nation newspaper, did a headline, and I think I'm shooting with the phone, so the ratings are a bit inverse. But if you checked the Saturday Nation, there was a headline of RUTO, I will probe Uhuru after the polls. So if you read that story, it was actually plucked from William Ruto's manifesto. And William Ruto's manifesto under the governance part, you know that manifesto had 65 chapters, and someone was making a joke that it was like a textbook. It was a textbook. It was a textbook manifesto. They spoke extensively about ending what they called state capture. This is the chapter that I want to believe Deputy President was trying to explain what he will do to curb corruption. And the question that they did not answer is how they will stop civil servants or people who are working in the government, how they will stop them from stealing. That is the question that every Kenyan was expecting an answer, but so bad the answer is not there. However, the very day on Saturday, President Uhuru Kenyatta, while talking in KICC, I think blasted his deputy. And the president spoke with anger. You could read in his lips that he was angry. And I think he was angry. Probably he had read that newspaper in the morning and saw that headline and was a little bit got irritated. According to that story, Deputy President is saying that he will form a quasi-judicial team that will probe all the policies of President Uhuru Kenyatta for the last 10 years. Then the recommendations will be submitted to him. Then from there, he might probably reverse some of the policies and proposals, or perhaps the agendas of President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. While this can be understood as a bid, or rather a plan by Deputy President not to continue with what the president is doing, rather to say that there will be no element of continuity, and speak to voters that he is going to introduce new way of governance, this has really rubbed President Uhuru Kenyatta wrongly, and I will tell you why. Now, I want to explain something about policies, and I think that plot is overambitious. The government policies, there are those that are legislative, that must go through the National Assembly, or that went through the National Assembly, and there are those that are administrative. Let me use a good example. During the crackdown, when crackdown happens, when the ministry Matiang'i says we are going to do a crackdown, that is not legislative. That doesn't go to the National Assembly. That is normally administrative, and it is within the police ranks that orders are given from one rank to the other, and that is implemented. Something on taxation. When you want to tax churches, that is normally a legislative agenda. So, and who formulates government policies? Or rather, who comes up with these policies? Policies is not an exclusive role of the president. And I think Deputy President saying that what Uhuru has done, he's simply missing the point. Because there are policies that came from agencies, government agencies. For example, Kenya Revenue Authority can say, for us to reach our collection target for this year, we need to maybe do some amendments on taxation policy, so that sector X that was not being taxed maybe now started being taxed. That is, there are those that also come from different ministries. then they get their way to the executive, and they go through legislation. Now, what was passed through legislation, honestly, Deputy President cannot reverse. And this is a process that involves public participation, and for you to come up with something and it works out, it's not really easy. So I see it as just a political statement, and I want to tell you that I don't think he actually means it, but it was said, or rather it was put there and magnified for political reasons. It is not a coincidence that the Nation team, the editorial team at Nation, decided to plaque that part and magnify. Remember, that document has 65 chapters. So even for the next 30 days of this election, you can magnify each and every aspect of that. But I think RUTO team intentionally wanted to communicate something. Let me tell you what the Deputy President can actually reverse, and why he's actually talking about this. One thing that Deputy President will reverse is that port deal that Musalia Mudavadi was talking about. And this statement, I think it was just magnified to communicate that. So that is one that this can be. And why do you think some of this will want to be reversed? It is not just the policies. There are also MOUs, there are also international deals, and the local deals here that are included in this. And so whatever is just done about policies is what is being covered. But what they're communicating is more than just a policy. The other aspect that I see Deputy President targeting is the NMS. The NMS was a creation of President Uhuru Kenyatta, and it was a creation, I believe, of Uhuru to try to control the city after it became evident that Mike Sonko was not able enough to achieve what Uhuru wanted to be his legacy projects. And that is why I feel that if you look at Uhuru's tour, most of his achievements and what he prides of doing, he has achieved through the military men. He planted military men in those projects, and those projects were achieved. So one thing I see, if Deputy President is going to hold, is going to do things differently, probably he might crash with the men in uniform. And this statement is very deep, because what people want is an element of continuity, even if there is change, but there should also be an element of continuity, because our economy is a bit fluid. Now, what does this conversation bring on table now? Because it is not coming just 1 month to general election. This kind of conversation, what was it intended to achieve? And guys, this creates a conversation about Uhuru's government failure. The conversation about Uhuru's failure is, according to Deputy President, would deflate Raila's presidential goals, or rather would deflate Raila's manifesto, because in Raila's manifesto there is an element of continuity. But Deputy President seems to have realized that the intended goal, the kind of euphoria or the kind of reception that they were expecting after releasing the manifesto, was not achieved. It was not achieved for many reasons. One could be the drama that was staged alongside their manifesto by Wajakoya. Wajakoya had another alternative show, and the youth they really opted to listen to what Wajakoya was saying. So this is something that could be, and again, that affected the media coverage and the whole criticism about the manifesto being long and all that. I think Deputy President, technically, they wanted to magnify that part of their manifesto, so that the kind of criticism that is saying that they're receiving, there will be a diverted attention. And that is why it creates a conversation on Uhuru's government failure. Now, that creation, that conversation, who is it targeting? That conversation that I think Deputy President is bringing it to divide the Mount Kenya on Uhuru's loyalty. Initially, even during the time the BBI was being opposed, and despite the BBI was benefiting Mount Kenya, Deputy President was very diplomatic with President Uhuru Kenyatta, simply because he wanted to gain the support of both Uhuru's critics and people who support Uhuru. But as people go toward this election, it has become evident that the lines have to be drawn. You cannot take all of them. You will have to choose who to please and who not to please. And so what the DP has done is already creating the lines, and it will create a momentum on Mount Kenya politicians now to attack President Uhuru. If you read that story, you will see Irungu Kangata coming over to support. I also saw Ndindi Nyoro saying something that there have been deals that were signed like 10 years ago, and they only benefit few individuals, and they spoke about the energy sector. But the energy sector have very long deals that actually extend to over 20 years, close to 20 to 30 years. So I totally agree with that. Now, that is a creation for Mount Kenya to bring that split, so that when the momentum of attacking the president comes, people who will support the president are there. Because what DP has done is this: people who support president and people who support him are not the same. The truth of the matter is, maybe he has more support on the UDA wing than the president. So he has opted then to create and galvanize that support, so that the 30% or the 50% or the 63 years in Mount Kenya, he can galvanize them. What brought them together to support DP RUTO was a protest against President Uhuru Kenyatta. And that is the kind of creation that they are bringing, that they are trying to bring. But why do you think that RUTO would want to review these MOUs and deals? Reviewing these MOUs and deals is one, I think the DP simply is communicating something to President Uhuru Kenyatta that he is not so much interested in his transition, or rather he might not take care of him. Or secondly, DP is in government, and the Jubilee one, he really benefited a lot. And we are in this, the online spaces, we were actually pointing out that there were people who were employed in different government agencies, and they were his close associates, and through that he maximized opportunities in government to amass a lot of resources. And unlike that, in second term, things changed. Now, some of these deals that maybe were signed, he was sidelined and is not part of them. So he's simply saying that he wants to review them, so perhaps they can also benefit. That could be number one. Number two, the RUTO team are also trying to blackmail President Uhuru Kenyatta for a truce, that in case there is something hidden, because again, to the common man, they don't know about these policies, but to President Uhuru Kenyatta, it is all about the deals. President Uhuru Kenyatta, it's all about the deals. So Uhuru, I think Deputy President simply wants to blackmail President Uhuru Kenyatta and say that, look here, even after this election, if I win, you will have to look for me. So communicate this mapema, or rather trying to offer this as a threat, will be a bait for President perhaps to tone down on attacking him. That could be a probability, or even push for a handshake or a truce before this general election. I can tell you this for sure: if Deputy President now decides to have a handshake, or Uhuru decides to have a handshake with his deputy, that is going to doom political hopes of Raila Odinga in Central Kenya. And I challenge people who say watasalimiana, there will be a handshake before. Don't expect that. The politics is about perception, and at this moment, Deputy President and Uhuru Kenyatta might really want to be close to his deputy, but if he is to support Raila Odinga, that cannot happen now until after this general election. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my bold analysis. I am back with why something about the Kenyan debates.